Hey Steve, been a long time since any of us made a video, so I thought I'd go ahead and make one. Didn't really have any ideas, but recently I was researching how to make a shadow box for a flag on YouTube and on the internets. So, gave me the idea to make this video for you guys. I've got my supplies here. I've got the my wood. It's popular. It was labeled popular wood at Lowe's. I don't know. It looked nice. Seems like it's going to be easy to sand down, very straight, and it was one of the darker pieces there, so hopefully it'll stain well. So just going to cut that up on my angles. That'll be my first thing. The rest of my pieces here, this is just pine plywood. It's going to be for the back, and then I've got some acrylic here, and that'll be, instead of glass, I'm using acrylic, and that'll be my front. And then I've got, of course, my Pap's flag. He died about 2 years ago now, so it's about time I've gotten this done and put it in a case for him. And then additionally, what I'm going to try to do to make this a little unique is for the back part, I'm going to make it so it comes down. So in case I wanted to take the flag out at some point, or somebody did for some reason, then I'm going to hook these little hinges on it and use magnets and this piece of metal. Of course, little pieces of that metal, and hopefully I can make it so it can close and open. So we'll see how that goes. First part, I'm going to go ahead and cut these angles I need to do, and we'll see how it goes. So. Alright Steve, so step one is measuring. There's some measurements online they give you for different things about how big to make this, but really I think I want to make it custom. So I want it to fit nice and snug in there, so I'm going to be measuring it off the flag. I'm just going to leave it as folded. I could refold it maybe, but it's still folded from how it was folded when the Marines did it at my Pap's funeral. So I'm going to just leave it like this, and I'm going to measure this out as to what I need the inside of the box to be at those measurements. This here's, they give you some of the bullets from the 21 gun salute. I don't need that. So I'm going to go ahead and measure this, and I'm going to use a speed square to get my angles right, and then I'll be using the miter saw here behind me to go ahead and make sure I get those angles just right. That's like the hardest part of this, and Molly got me the miter saw for Christmas, so that's been one of my excuses of not doing this project yet, is not having that tool to get that extreme angle, because you have to do at the top of the box is a 45-degree angle, and then the two other angles on the sides are going to be 22.5 degree angles. So first thing is I'm going to go ahead and measure this out. I'll get these measurements done, and then I'll go ahead and cut to. All right Steve, so I got my wood set up. I'm going to go ahead and make this cut here. I'm just going to cut it off square first before I do the angles. I'm giving myself a little room on the square, so that way I can just go ahead and cut those angles next. So here we go. So next, we've got our 45 and our 22 to do. Most of the time I see people do the 22 on table saws. I have one back there. I'm hoping to be able to get that done on this. We'll see. All right, Steve, here goes our 45-degree angle. This one's the easier one to take. I went ahead and I measured out the 45-degree angle at the speed square, but I also set the saw on the 45-degree angle, so that's going to be easy, and I can just cut it like this. The 22, that's going to be a little bit more, 22 and a half is going to be a little bit more of a challenge. So, all right, let's get this done. There's our 45. Next for the 22, of course this doesn't go as far as I need it for the angle, so I think I gotta kind of cut it like this. Get the angle and everything I need, so we'll see. So there's the angle. Let's just hope that it, oh man, so you can see that angle is not straight. Dang. Alright. To figure out another way. Alright Steve, I think I figured something out. I went ahead and I just clamped this piece of wood here. It's a piece of scrap wood from another project, and what I'm going to do with that is I'm going to use it's, you know, true edge here to line up here, and so I can move it in and hold it more stably and get that angle I want to get here. So, and hopefully it'll be a straighter angle than the last cut. But, you know, we'll see. All right, here we go. All right, that's a lot straighter. Still not perfect, but yeah, we'll see how it goes. So it's actually lining up pretty good. What I'll probably do with this unstraight edge and the one here and stuff is I'll try to use the sander to make it straighter, flat, like more flush, so that way they fit together. There's just a little bit of a gap, especially on this side over here. This side over here seems to be doing well, and of course up here with the 45s, because they're easy, are perfect. So I will have to see if I can work some magic with the sander to finish it up a little bit. I put everything together in the flag. You know, it fits, but it's real snug, and I got a little bit more room. The flag isn't as wide as this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut the wood. I'm going to send it through the table saw and just make this a little skinnier to give the flag a little bit more room in the box. But still, then I'll have almost like kind of a lip up here for my acrylic. So I'll go ahead and do that with each side. So I'm going to do the groove for the acrylic at 1/4 of an inch, and then a 1/2 inch from the top is, so it's going to be a 1/2 inch kind of a little lip there for the acrylic, and that way the flag will be able to sit down. So I got my little guide here along the saw, set for 1/4 of an inch. So hopefully that goes straight through, goes well. Plan is just to send the wood straight through like this. I've looked, I might need to go a little deeper, so I might need to raise the saw up a little bit, but right now I think I'll just see how deep it cuts, and we'll see where we need to go from there. It's gonna be loud because I gotta turn on the vacuum too. Helps keep down the sawdust from this thing. Alright, so actually that looks pretty good there. That's my groove for my acrylic. And that looks like it's just deep enough, so I'm going to go ahead and run through the other boards. I went ahead and set this actually at 5/8 of an inch. Because this groove, because how big it is, I want to give it a little extra room on this side of the board here. So hopefully that'll be enough, and then the next thing is I'll send it through this way, and you'll see what I'm talking about, where I'll have a lip built up for the groove, and then I'll have a little bit more room inside the box. That's the plan. So let's get these pieces through real quick. See how it goes. So hopefully, I don't know, you probably can't see on the camera, but I raised the blade up a little bit to make this groove here a little deeper, so that way it'll attach, you know, it'll connect to the next cut I'm gonna make, you know, so it's almost like its own relief cut, to give the saw blade some air as I'm cutting through. Hopefully it'll go nice and smoothly. All right, I want to show you guys exactly how I'm setting this saw up. So just pull these tabs here, and this will release the guide. All right, and then I can adjust it so that red line there is on my 1/4 of an inch. All right, so that's how far I'm cutting into the line here. The thing I don't like about this saw is this guide is sometimes the back end over here, it can move a little bit when I'm doing it, so sometimes it'll lock in, and either this end will be that way a little bit or that way, just a hair, but you really notice it whenever you're sending the piece through the saw and how it looks. So let's see how my 1/4 of an inch looks off of my measurement here. I got a mark on the bottom of this board here. That tells me where I want that saw blade to be cutting into. Okay, now I got the guide where I want it. Now I gotta get the saw blade up. Just bring this, raises it up. See, if we're real close to that piece there, so I'm gonna have a real thin board going through here. And I need it to raise up to this groove line that I cut for it. And right there should do it. Okay. And now I just send each piece through. So saw's not liking that. My guess is this is just off a little bit on the back end here. Like I said, sometimes it's off just a hair. When it happens, what it does is it pushes the wood against the blade there and makes it worse. So, see if that fixes the problem. So it still didn't really like it all that much, but did get the cut done. You can see there's the lip for the glass and how that now that flag's gonna have more room in there. Only problem I'm gonna have to deal with now is well, the problem will be I won't have a lot to work with here where I have to set up the groove for my back piece. So I've got maybe like a ½ inch or so to work with there, which isn't a lot. So, all right, we'll see. All right, I'm gonna take a second from the cutting and everything. I know I still have that groove for my plywood I gotta do on that one of those pieces, but I'm gonna go ahead and test out this stain, see if I like it or not. Because what I'm gonna have to do, since I'm trying to put the acrylic in there ahead of time, you know, like before I have it all together, and then put it together once I have it in there. So because I'm doing that, I'm probably going to stain later. And of course I'm getting this everywhere. That's okay. This project right here is going to be staining the same stuff, so it should probably be okay. Alright. But this is just a test piece. This is one of those pieces from the groove I just cut. So I'm going to go ahead and stain this. Just apply the stain, let it sit. I'm going to let it sit for about 5 minutes and then kind of see what it looks like, you know. Alright, 5 minutes is up. See how it looks. Alright, I like it. Yeah, it looks pretty good to me. Yeah, and then it's going to shine up real nice when I put the polyurethane on there. So I'm going to say, yeah, that's a good color. I like the stain. So let's go ahead and cut those final grooves for the back and get ready to stain at least the inside before I insert the glass in there. So that should do it for my grooves. You know, it's gonna work. I'm not super happy with some of it, but that's what sanding's for. Hopefully I can fix some things. The next step is sanding, and I'm just gonna get that done with my little sander here. It's a square one. And I'm just gonna go through, sand out these little, you know, like the burn marks from the blade, make sure everything's nice and even. I'll try to make sure my angles are even now, and yeah, my grooves. So just kind of smoothing everything out and everything. So usually I do this outside, As you can see, my garage door is closed. It is pretty cold outside, so and windy. So I'm staying in here. I got my back here. I'll go ahead and vacuum up. I got a lot of dust in here already. So that's the plan. I won't record me sanding. It takes forever, and the sander's loud. So I'm going to start off. I'm going to start off with 50 grade because of these rough spots here. Hit that quick, and then I'll switch over and I'll work my way up from 50. I got a few different ones here. So that's my 50, my 80, 120, 220, and 320. That'll be the process, and I'll be sitting here listening to some music while I do it. All right, we're sanded. They're nice and smooth. I vacuumed them as well to try to get as much dust off as I could. But I'm gonna also wipe them with this towel here. I damped it, but just put a little bit of water on there, so they're just damp, just to try to make sure I get rid of all of the dust from the sanding. You don't want that on there when you stain. Again, I'm just doing the inside, just staining the inside of it right now. And that mainly is because this is the only time I'll get, once I put it together, I'm not going to really get to the inside without really risk getting some of the stain on the plexiglass. To try to explain this better, once I have the inside stained, I'll put it together and I will slide the acrylic into these grooves, put this piece on with the acrylic, so it's all together. All right, and then additionally, to reinforce these joints here, I'm going to, but I'll just use probably my table saw, just to cut like 3 grooves in there, put little pieces in there, and then sand it all down again to make sure it's all smooth, and to get rid of any of the excess glue that might come from gluing these joints together. And then I will stain. That'll be the last thing, is I'll stain all of it then on the outside. But for now, we'll just do the inside real quick, and that'll be that. I've already mixed up my stain, so we're ready just to start applying here. Usually I will dress appropriately for this too, like with old clothes. I mean, I do have old clothes on because that's all I own, but I don't. I should have. I have some pants that already have a bunch of stain on it. That's what I usually wear when I'm staining. But I'm lazy. I don't really feel like going back upstairs to put those on right now, so this is what I'm gonna do. So I've got the inside of these stained, and now I've put this together. It's not glued or anything, it's just kind of together loosely, so that way I can make my marks for where I need to cut the acrylic. So I'm gonna mark right here on this side, mark right over here on this side. Okay, and then, all right, here we go. So that's not the straightest line there, but maybe it'll do. Go ahead and put it in the frame and see how it looks. So I put the plexiglass in there, I lined this up. It's not perfect. The angles, of course, have really been disappointing. These extreme angles here, especially right here, this one's bad. I'll have to fill that in with some wood putty. What I'm going to do now, though, is I'll go ahead and I'll glue each side, set this back up. I'll use this to go ahead and cinch it down and let it dry, let the glue dry overnight, and see how that goes. Clamps are in place, and tighten this up. You can see I used the scrap pieces from when I originally cut that angle that I was having trouble with. Just reversed them, put them on here, so I can put a clamp on the side, a little extra support, keep it down. Let it sit overnight, so the glue is dry. I'm gonna go ahead and take off my clamps now. You'll notice I have my hoodie up. It is freezing outside. So I'll Also got some wood putty here to go ahead and fill in any of the cracks. It's stainable, so what we'll do is it just, kind of blends in with the stain, which is nice. All right. Well, it's held together. That's good. That's a really good start. I left all this on it, on the acrylic, because I will pull it off whenever we're done putting the poly and everything on there. So, but for now, just leave it on there. It protects it. That way I don't have to use any kind of like painter's tape or anything to cover it up to avoid getting poly on it. So I'm going to use the wood filler there. There's a little bit of a gap right here. This looks really good. That angle looks good. There's a little bit of a gap right in here too. So I'll just use the wood filler to fill those little pieces in, and then what I'm going to do next is I'm going to cut the grooves with the table saw to put the little triangle pieces to go ahead and reinforce my joints, and I'll glue those in, and I'll also use the table saw to go ahead and cut my back piece, which I've already made a line on. I just put it in here and I drew the line right where it is, so I'll cut that too. So those will be my next cuts. For now, I'm just going to go ahead and get this putty in there, and while I make those cuts and everything, hopefully it'll dry and I can sand everything down after that. This wood putty here and sanding has saved a lot of my projects from looking like crap, so saves me again. I got the depth that I want on the saw set. I got marks for my my cuts. So now we just gotta send it through here one at a time. There's my grooves. I've got them on all three corners. And now I just have to cut thin little pieces to glue into those little grooves, and we'll be good to go. All right, the other thing I gotta cut right now is this for the back. And that depth of the blade should work. I might raise it up just a little bit. Okay. Here's the back piece. Alright, fitting in there good. Alright, so got to go ahead and cut out room for the magnets and everything to be able to stick this on there, so that way it can come off and back on. What I originally thought with the hinges, I don't think that's going to work. Based off of how I've cut this. Alright, so I'm going to try to cut those little pieces that are going to go in the grooves. I've already tried a couple, they're too thick, so I'm going to try real thin here, see if it can fit in the groove. I'm going to use my scroll saw for this because they're so small. I tried with the miter saw, but it just like disintegrated the piece because the saw blade's so big. So we'll see if I can get this cut thin enough. This block is actually one of the spare pieces from the 45-degree angles that I cut whenever I first started this. So let's go ahead and see if we can get this cut. Oh, my piece fell somewhere on the ground here. I will look for that and see if it fits. We've got our little pieces cut that are going to go in our notches, so we'll just put those in there. Good snug fit. I'm gonna glue them in there. Of course, these gotta dry, but while they dry, I'm gonna go ahead and carve out the area where I'm gonna put the magnets. But I was just gonna show you this part real quick, what I'm gonna do here. Should be plenty of glue there. Sits right down in there. Good. Okay, you'll see a little bit sticking up. That's fine. I'll just shave off that extra I've got there. So that's what I do for each one of these guys. Right, so here's the plan for the next part. I've got these magnets here that I bought. All right. So I've already traced out where I want them inside the box here. So I just got to cut out little grooves for them to fit in. All right. So I'm going to do that with the Dremel here, see if I can finesse it. I was going to try to cut it out with the box cutter, kind of carve those out, but I don't want to risk breaking the wood off. So I think the better option would be go with the Dremel, just take my time carving out those little notches. And then I will also go ahead, I might try carving these, but probably again, I'll probably Dremel. These are going to be where the metal is going to go. The metal, I'll definitely use, well, I have a saw too I could probably cut this with, but I might just use the Dremel to go ahead and cut these. I'm just going to cut pieces off, and I'm going to glue these metal pieces into here, and then once I get the grooves carved out, I'm going to glue the magnets into the frame. So that way that all sticks. And the way I measured out where the piece of metal go, I just put this in here, I looked at it, lined it up, and just traced for each one on each side. And I also went ahead and sanded this too. So this is sanded. Once I get stuff glued in and while I'm waiting for that to dry, I'll probably go ahead and stain at least one side of this while I'm waiting for the glue to dry. Probably this part, because this will be the inside. All right, so we're at. So I stained this. I went ahead and I glued in these metal pieces. I got that all dremeled out. So looks pretty good, I think. Should be able to just snap right into the back of the other piece. I'm going to finish letting that glue dry. I'll let it sit till tomorrow. I have to stain this side of it, so I might get that done tonight. Good piece here. I've got these pieces clamped in. Most of these are looking pretty good. These ones were a little loose, so I gave a little bit more glue and clamped those. But looking pretty good. What I'm going to do right now, I'm going to use the Dremel to go ahead and shave off the little excess from our little notches here. The glue's dried, so they're in there pretty stiff. If the Dremel doesn't work out, I can saw it. But that's what I'm going to do right now, and then I'll go ahead and sand that down to make these edges smooth and try to get rid of any of the glue, the excess glue, because the glue doesn't stain, and then maybe get the stain on this too. So it'll hopefully be ready for poly. Put a coat of poly on the outside tomorrow once all the glue's dried and the stain and everything. So, all right, I've gone ahead and I've stained both sides of the back piece now. So that's the back, and then that's the inside of the back with the metal pieces. So that's all stained. I'll be able to put polyurethane on that tomorrow. Gotta let it dry for a day. I'm gonna go ahead and stain this now. I went ahead and sanded down. I cut the excess off, and I sanded it all down. I hope you can get that. You can see the little notches. They're just barely there, but yeah, they reinforce that corner. So it's pretty handy. There, maybe you can see it right there. Those three little notches. After sanding, there was a little bit of gaps here and there. I went ahead and filled that with wood putty again. There's a little place right there where I filled that, and then I sanded it again. So this thing is fully sanded down. I just finished wiping it off with a damp cloth. So we are ready to stain. And then I also did a check on the flag, make sure it fits perfectly. So we're ready to go to get this stained, and then go ahead and put the finish on it with the polyurethane tomorrow. So I'm going to finish staining, and then the poly that I'm using is right here, clear semi-gloss. And I'll probably do, I'll do 2 coats. I'll see if I need a third. I know usually 3 coats looks really good, so we'll see how it turns out. I actually went ahead and I've got 1 coat of polyurethane on here already. I can feel it's kind of granulated. It's not real smooth. I didn't clean it off with a damp rag before I did it, but I wasn't too worried about it because I gotta do a second coat anyway. So I'm gonna go ahead and sand this down. I'm gonna hit it with some 220 grade. And then I'll apply a second coat of polyurethane on there. When I'm applying the polyurethane, I like to use a sponge brush, kind of like this. I don't use the same brush I used with staining. I feel like the standard brush, you'll get a lot of little air bubbles. And with this kind of foam brush usually, especially if you get a nice one. This one isn't that nice. I got a nicer one over here. I might use if I have to do a third coat. It just helps keep it from kind of, you know, being bubbly and like not having good texture. You want the polyurethane to sit on there real smooth, but you can already see even just the 1 coat gives it pretty good shine right now. So it's already looking pretty good. Just I want to get that feel and bring it out a little bit more, adding a second, maybe third coat on it. We'll see how the second coat sits. But almost done. And once I get those coats on, I'll go ahead and peel this stuff off of the plexiglass and put the flag in there and put the back on, and it will be done. Okay, so I've done. I got a helper here now. Bowen wants to help. Yeah. So the second coat of poly turned out a lot better than the first coat. It's a lot smoother. There's some areas. Yep, that's gonna be where the flag goes. Some areas, like right here, there's a little bit of buildup from where I sanded it before. It wasn't completely dry, I guess. So there's a little bit of where some of the dust and stuff got caught in the poly now, and there's one spot here. So I am going to sand it one more time and do a third coat. Good news is, though, we're
going to use this.
That's right. And this is a 320 grade sandpaper, so a little bit finer than the last time.
It says you have to wear
ear protection, eye protection,
and mouth.
Yeah, and gloves. Yeah.
And glove check.
Yep, we'll do that. So I'll hit it one more time with that, and then 1 more coat of poly. Since this coat went on real smooth this time, I'll definitely probably use the same exact brush.
Like this.
So that'll be good. Yep, that's exactly how we're gonna do it.
And I don't know how to do it, so Daddy gonna help me.
That's right. Well, you're helping me. Just finished. The third coat of poly is dry. Pop the flag in there. I think it looks great. Got the back on. The only problem is the magnets aren't strong enough. Like if I hold it like this and I shake it, that back's gonna pop off. So, but just sitting there like this, it's not gonna fall off or anything. I was going to put some little things like that on the back of picture frames on there to try to hold it in, but I don't have enough space to put the little screws in here without damaging the wood further. I tried to do one down here. Really didn't work. So, just going to make do with the magnets. Looks fine to me. I mean, if I ever get upset with it falling out like that, I can always just get a brad nailer and put some small nails through here real quick, and that'll hold it in real good. But the whole purpose of doing the magnets was to try to have it so it would be easily opened too. But I think it looks great. I really like the way it turned out. A little worried about those angles originally, but they look great now. So there she is.